This past January, we attended the annual Xscapers BASH in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. The previous year, we had done a presentation there all about RV batteries, comparing lithium to AGM to flooded lead acid. Since that time, we've joined the cast of the RVers, the television show all about RVing. And we thought that since the producer and creator of the show, Anthony Nalli, would be attending his very first bash with us this year, we should do a presentation about the show. The previous evening, Anthony had interviewed Melanie and Travis Carr, the founders of the Xscapers, right here on our RV for the show. And we thought that he could replicate and add to some of that footage on stage in front of a live audience as part of this taping. So that's what you're about to see. The first time we've ever done anything like that. And that included 5 cameras and 10 microphones to try to capture everything that was going on. Luckily, we were shooting in front of a friendly and receptive audience, our friends and fellow Xscapers who are attending the bash. We're releasing this video to coincide with the premiere of Season 2 of the RVers on the Discovery Channel on Saturday morning, May 16th, 2020. Besides Discovery, the show also airs on PBS and Fun Roads TV on selected markets in the US and the Wild Pursuit Network in Canada. It also streams on iTunes, or Apple TV, Google Play, Amazon Video, and YouTube TV, and is available internationally on iTunes in various English-speaking markets. We'll put details down below in the video description for all the different ways you can see the show. A special thanks to Travis, Melanie, JP, and the entire Xscapers team. So without further ado, here's our presentation from the Xscapers Bash. We hope you enjoy watching it as much as we did filming it.
You might have seen them on such television shows as YouTube Presents. Featured on Season 4 of America's Most Wanted. 2 of the OG RVers that have helped thousands of people with their instructions and now have found a new life with the RVers television show. How many people have watched it so far? Awesome. Awesome. Look, they're behind the stage so they can't see how many people raise their hands, so just everybody cheer. How many people have seen it so far? Wonderful. Give it up for John and Peter from the RVers.
Thank you. Yeah, we need that. Yeah, he's going to do it.
Thank you. So, quick bit of explanation for what we're doing here. So last year when we came here, I said that I'm Peter.
And I'm John.
And we were the RVgeeks. Well, things have changed a little bit since then, and we are now the RVers. And even though we couldn't see how many people raised their hands, we heard it wasn't enough. We could tell. So we want to explain quickly what you're witnessing today, what's happening. So this is a bit of an experiment. We like to keep the show moving forward. We like to try new things. This is a bit of an experiment that you are an integral part of. We have never shot a show in front of a studio audience before, and we've decided that we could fail in front of friends and it would be okay, right? In theory. So this is all new. You're going to see a little bit behind the scenes. You already have. You've seen us running around synchronizing cameras and things like that. What you're here to see today is the producer and creator of the Aviators and the RVers, Anthony Nalli, interviewing everyone's favorite RVers, and that is...
No,
not us.
No, not us.
Mel and Travis.
Yeah, come on.
Right, so we have to do a couple of things to prepare you for what's going to happen. So first of all, we all have to silence our phones. And I do want...
There's a reason why.
Yes, because this will be on television. So if you didn't see the notices when you came in. So I'd like everybody to silence their phones if you would. And there's one other thing we're going to do. I'm going to start recording a video here, and this is your screen test right now.
We may have to move some of you around a little.
So this is your screen test, and we are going to see how well you can cheer to welcome our guests to the stage. So let's see how you do. Go ahead, let's hear what you got.
I think we need to... I think we need to lower the mics.
So you've ruined my joke. I was supposed to say, is that all you got? But I honestly, in good conscience, can't do that. That was wonderful. So without any further ado, we're going to get out of here because we are multi-talented. We're going to be running the cameras. We will not be up here. So let's introduce our guests first. I want to introduce everyone to...
Hop down.
John's going to hop down. You can get ready to handle the cameras. Remember, you're going to see behind the scenes. We are going to introduce... We got a problem already? Lou knows what he's doing. If he says we got a problem, this is serious. So without any further ado, here's Anthony. Thank you so much, Anthony. If you want to have a seat, we're going to put everybody in their place. We're going to get started right away.
Will do.
And Anthony's going to conduct the interview. Go ahead and give a little sound check. See if people can hear you.
Check. Cough, cough. I saw the show.
Again, Anthony's mic will be a little lower, but if you have trouble hearing, we're going to get Lou to turn the mics up as hot as he can without causing feedback. So, the people you came here to see interviewed by Anthony, Travis and Mel. Let's hear it for Travis and Mel. So we are going to leave you three to have a little discussion. I'm going to hop down and run one of the cameras. Give us a second. Again, little behind the scenes, you'll see us just making sure the cameras are framed right, the sound is right. We'll do a quick sound check, and then we'll tell them to say whatever they feel like saying.
Sounds good. Uh-oh. Now, Peter's briefed us really, really well. So we're ready to have a conversation about leaky black tanks. You ready? Yeah. This is an RVgeeks discussion. Actually, everyone knows the way to solve that problem is to watch an RVgeeks video.
True.
The solution exists right in there, right? And then, of course, call someone who knows how to do something, because that wouldn't be me. So before we get started, this is our first time attending not only BASH, but any Xscapers function, and it's amazing. So, anyone having a bad time here? Who's having a good time? To Travis and Mel and their incredible team, thank you for doing the job that you do in general. Thank you for preparing this. And to Travis and Mel's team, way to go! Yes. Amazing. And, you know, I had a chance to talk to Travis and Mel. We did a more closed interview yesterday, and I learned so much more than I had coming into this. I've always had a respect for what you do, but now the levels and the depths that I understand what it is that they do and how important it is to them and to you and to the community and to RVing, it really is truly inspirational. And inspiration is really the subject of what I want to talk to you about today. But before we get into that, let me ask you probably a very basic question to you. But I think it'll create a good delineation so that we can take it from there. Is there one thing that you would do to describe the difference between Xscapers and Xscapers, or what would be the top few things to create that difference between the two organizations?
You want to go or you want me?
Go ahead.
No, so I think the big difference was bringing, and really it starts off with not a difference, right? That's the beginning roots of Xscapers was bringing back the original roots of the club from its founding principle. It's back in the day in 1978. Most of the founding members were working-aged RVers and working from the road. And Xscapers is really bringing back those roots full circle to the organization and creating a community of like-minded individuals is really the goal. Mm-hmm. You know, we cater to working-age RVers with our events and our styles and what we do at these events, but at the end of the day, it's a mindset, and that's really what matters, and that's the big difference. And it's all about being able to pick and choose what makes sense to you.
And I think the idea that we want to come across to everybody is everybody here is an Xscapers member first. So it's not that we're setting a line or boundaries, but there's always room for like interest groups of people. Like we specifically cater to those working on the road, and we wouldn't have been able to bring this to the escapees community without consulting with what people wanted.
So you said working age a couple of times. If I can simplify that and bring it down to one delineating point, and I'm sure it's more than one, but would you say it's safe to say, if not completely, but at least partially, that escapees could be more for someone who's retired and looking to enjoy RVing in a certain way, but more of the retired type of person versus a working age person, perhaps younger, having certainly different needs. I mean, you have to earn a living, whereas someone who's retired has sort of gotten all that settled. So working age versus retired, perhaps?
Yeah, I think that's true, especially when it comes to the community part. But we all need the same services at the end of the day, right? It doesn't matter your age and what you need. With certain exceptions, you know, we've created more support for working age RVers, and that's definitely true. I say Xscapers is definitely for the non-retired community. That does not mean that we're exclusive. We are a very inclusive organization, and that's a key point. So
one example I really like to use is the events. So we have a couple programs through Escapees, like the Hangouts, the Escapade. Everything is going on nonstop all day, and Bash is an exception because there's a lot going on, and it's like our big reunion, right? And there's a lot going on throughout the days. But at a typical convergence, we work hard to make sure there's internet signal, that we're allowing people free time during the morning and the afternoons to get their work done, and then we can all hang out and have fun after. So that's kind of the difference, is what you want to go, where you want to go, and how you attend the events is really based on your schedule and the activities that you want there.
And these events wouldn't happen without JP Smith. So how about a round of applause for JP, right?
Yeah, JP's terrific. I mean, the whole team is terrific, obviously, but JP, the guy's got ants in his pants. I mean, he's just absolutely amazing. Okay, so I'm curious. I'm going to share an experience, and I'm curious how many other people have had a similar experience. I've been full-timing since 2015. The intent was to start RVing, something I've wanted to do for literally decades, no kidding. And we finally just did the push ourselves and did it. And then we thought, if we're going to spend this much time away from home, then why do we need the home, right? So we jumped straight into full-timing. We thought we'd do it for a year, and 5 years later, we're still doing it. And we love it because it's awesome. Now, that's not to say if you don't full-time, you're doing it wrong. I don't think there's any wrong way to RV. You do it your way, and if it's working for you, you're doing it right. That's perfect. But early on, when we go to family functions and whatnot, and we tell them that we live in an RV, they think, oh, poor darling, you're homeless. But a time comes when everyone who thinks that, which is probably a lot of people, start to see you a little differently. I don't know. I mean, the stress starts to wash away. You start to really enjoy a whole different kind of life that you perhaps didn't even know existed. Your life seems more enriched. You get to see more things, do more things, experience more things. And I think it changes who you are. You just become lighter, you have a glow about you. And a few years later, those same people who were thinking you were homeless are now saying to you, wow, you're living my life. You're living my dream. Has anyone ever turned around on you like that and said, you're living my dream? The other thing we hear a lot is, people that have retirement on their mind. They may be years and years away, but I want to do what you're doing when I retire. And I mean, that's wonderful. Do that, but tomorrow's not guaranteed. So if you're waiting to retirement, I hope you get there, but there's no assurance that that's going to happen. So why are you waiting to live your life to retirement or to any period of time? You should be living it now, because now is when you have your life. And I'd like to think that we've been, I actually know that I've been a little bit of an inspiration to at least a couple of people. My bandmates kind of looked at me sideways when I first joined the band, and I live in an RV. It's like, oh, weird guy, weird gypsy person. And now, of course, our lead singer has an RV and is full-timing in it. And our bass player has an RV, and this is his first big trip in it. And they're both loving the life. They're absolutely loving it. So we've sucked them in.
Yeah.
How many of you have been, I mean, if inspiration is a strong word, at least, you know, you've provided someone with some motivation, some incentive. How many of you have similar stories, even to a lesser extent? Anyone?
Yep.
Yeah.
So individually, we can be inspirational to other people. And it's not like we're trying to sell RVs, you know, or we get a commission from Keystone and Thor and Winnebago and all these places. We're just living a life that we enjoy, and we think it's good for more people to live a life they enjoy. So in some small way, we're all providing an inspiration, but what you guys are doing, particularly with Xscapers, because if the other part of the organization caters to retirees, that's great, but working age people might think that they're stuck in a cubicle because they have to earn a living, and therefore they can't live this life. And I think what you're doing is what each of us are doing individually. You're doing it on a significant scale, and I think what you're doing provides massive inspiration. Am I right?
I think it really comes back to broadcasting what you all are doing to inspire everybody out there. Xscapers is possible because of technology and the willingness for people to accept remote workers, let people work on the road, and people just starting their own businesses, taking an idea and running with it. So I feel like we just provide the broadcasting effort for that. We bring everybody together, and you're able to share with each other your experiences and help each other learn, and that means so much to everybody on the road.
100% agree. We're the megaphone, right? We take all you full-timers, part-timers, whatever you are, we take your information, your education, and we put that in a manner that we can share with others. And that's what this organization was founded upon in 1978, was how do we connect people with other RVers and share that education amongst the community. And that's the true heart and soul of this organization, is the people. It's not us. Thank you for the kind words. And you know, we do help steer a little bit here and there, but at the end of the day, it doesn't work without the members and the community.
Everybody that works for our organization. We have an amazing marketing team. Even our board, everybody is so passionate. Our CEO, Sean Loring, is now invested in the lifestyle. He just bought an Airstream. And everybody, everybody truly cares about the RVing life, and they want to know how they can better that for everybody else. So it's a total team effort between the members and every staff member that we have.
Yeah, it's really fun for me too. You know, you talk about inspiration and all that, and growing up in the lifestyle, like RVing was always a part of my life. Like I never had a moment of like, I want to hit the road. Like to me, that's weird. That's like a cool thing, and why I love hearing stories and the inspiration behind it. And if it's, you know, we're a part of that, that's really, it's like, you know, the greatest thing you can ask for. But at the end of the day, I love those stories and just hearing why people were inspired to hit the road, because I never had that moment in my life. It was
you
just
never
kind of
had a
always
choice, is what you should say. You would be shunned if you didn't go into the RV life with your
Poor baby was born into the best life you could possibly have.
I have a lot of grandparents.
Well, I think when we do, I mean, everyone knows RVers help other RVers. Like, step out of your RV with some tools and crawl under there and try and solve a problem. Like, that's like RVer attractant.
Especially if you're at the black tank, right? Or backing up.
Do you get as much help when you're at the black tank? I feel like people are like, okay, I'm not going.
Do you, I don't want to put you on the spot, because I know sometimes you'd be asked for a specific example and there are 100 right in front of you and you can't think of one, but can you think of one where that inspiration has been applied to someone and they've shared that with you, maybe recently, maybe even here, and you've just gotten a warmth that's overcome you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I had one example just being at the registration booth, and I want to say it was the guy who came to the New Year's Eve bash, and Mateo, yes, and he came up and he said, wow, this community, I've been on the road 2 or 3 years now, and I was about ready to hang up the keys because I felt lonely. I felt like I was the only one out there doing what I was doing. And then I found you guys, and it's been a life changer for me.
Wow.
And I think that it's not the case for everybody, but just that one person saying that, and that our organization has provided that, just means the world to us and everybody else that works for us.
Yep.
Well, I mean, as inspirational as an RVer can be to another RVer, I mean, you guys provide a lot of support. So when someone feels that they're lacking in something, a lot of that gap can be filled by services that escapees and Xscapers provide. So I think that's critical, not only from a inspirational standpoint, from a practical standpoint as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the goal, is to be a total support network for all RVers. So we do the best we can and provide all the necessities and services to make the lifestyle as easy as possible. So there's still always something to be done, but
Of course. Does anyone here, speaking of inspiration, does anyone here, what's the, like, a relatively new RVer who did it because they were somehow enlightened by someone else? Yeah, go ahead, yeah. Velociraptor. Please share. Tell us about it.
Several years ago, we saw videos on YouTube. Around Christmas, we were fooling around with YouTube, and we found Gone with the Winds was one. You guys, the RVers, the RVgeeks, and a couple other people. And we talked about doing RV vacations, and that was when we decided that it wouldn't be a vacation; it would be
Life.
forever, for life, until we didn't feel like it.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. We sometimes think when we're in our RV just kind of hanging out, or the sun comes up or sun comes down or whatever, and you're looking at it and we think, like, we are living a vacation. Every day is a vacation, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, it doesn't matter. It's all important, but it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's just terrific. And anything that we can do collectively, individually, or as an organized group to share that and convey that, I mean, it's just an awesome life. Thank you very much for what you do, for what you continue to do. And I think the one compliment I think I delivered to them yesterday, I hope you took it this way, is that what they do, it doesn't feel or seem corporate. Like, it doesn't seem like they're a big organization, a company that's doing it because they're watching the bottom line and the dollars and cents, and, well, we're going to do this because I think it'll generate this and blah, blah, blah. They're doing it because they truly believe it needs to be done, and it's filling a need. It's serving a group of amazing people, and I think they're terrific people, and I think they come from a fantastic family. And I can't thank you guys enough for what you do. Awesome, thank you.
Let's have one last big round of applause for Travis and Mel before they leave the stage. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Nice job. Like always.
Now, this experiment is under a tent here, and it was supposed to not have any sun or uncontrolled light coming in. So Anthony and his team are going to need to edit this footage, and they're all going to see the sun shining on Mel's face that you may have all seen. It's just all part of dealing with the environment, the sound. We said this is an experiment. You're going to look at the footage and you're going to yell at me, aren't you?
I heard it was always overcast in Arizona.
That's right. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a very fast swap here. Have a seat, and I'm going to frame that camera on you. We're going to make a quick change. Vamp while I do that.
Oh, I'm vamping.
And
the funny thing that happened yesterday, so while Anthony was getting ready to interview Mel and Travis, he was, planning what was going to be talked about and all that kind of thing. He said, "Do you think there's anything I could do to get one of them to cry on camera? That'd be really good. Is there anything I could say? Could you have any background information that would really get one of them to just tear up a little bit?" And the funniest thing about the whole segment was that Anthony actually teared up more than they did. He got so moved hearing from Mel and Travis about what Xscapers is and what Xscapers has done that I swear I saw a tear glisten in the middle. So
I'm not nearly as tough as I look.
I need you to move over one.
So now I'm moving over a chair, so make sure that Peter's head doesn't get cut off.
No, it's make sure your head doesn't get cut off.
Oh, I'm sitting here.
You're sitting there.
You're the one who does all the
I'm
talking.
sitting.
He does all the talking.
No,
I
that's all
don't.
right. Go ahead, hop back over. So we're gonna leave this. And so, because you came here really to hear about, I know you know Travis and Mel, we wanted to expand our interview from yesterday that Anthony did for about an hour last night so that we could include parts of this and include you in it. But also, we know that Anthony is new to being here. This is his first time being at the Bash, so we have to give Anthony a hand. And so we want to also introduce many of you to him. Those of you who haven't seen the show, haven't seen the Aviators, we're eager to share our friend Anthony with all of you and wanted to talk to you a little bit just so you can kind of fill people in on a few things we know. So first off.
Oh wait, I have one question. First off,
Yep.
Is this going to be your last bash?
I sure hope not.
All right, just checking.
Better not be.
Yeah, right.
So first off, for anyone here who thinks Anthony's been a television producer his entire life because he created the Aviators and then created the RVers, how does one become a television producer?
Well, you have some money and you set it on fire. And then you enter an industry where you hope to climb a ladder and the person above you is kicking you in the face on the way up. It's a brutal, brutal industry, and you know what? We have found our place in it, and basically our place is to take things that are important to me personally, evidently aviation and RVing, and take the joy that they have given to me, those pastimes, and help to share them with as many people as possible, kind of doing what Travis and Mel do and what all of us do individually on a grander scale. And I know with Aviators, it really makes me feel really special that we've accomplished something when someone comes up to me and says, you know, I've wanted to fly my entire life. I go to airports and watch planes take off and land, and I'm just fascinated by it. And in watching your show over and over and episode after episode, it inspired me to go and take my first flying lesson, and then my second, and then my third, and then my fourth, and now I'm a pilot. And in one case, someone told me that they became an airline pilot when they didn't really think they could because of our show, and that just meant so much to me. And I want to do that with RVers, and I think we're doing that.
Now, how did that come about that you went from having a passion for something like flying? I'm a pilot myself, which you didn't even know when you called us.
That's right.
And coincidentally, we're both approximately 750 hours. Is that about right?
I'm about 800, yeah.
Oh, show off.
Always got a one-up.
Got to one-up me. So, and you got 2 TV shows, and I'm only part of one. So.
Well, we're willing to change that.
So, what was it that made you go from sharing your passion for flying to how did you get passionate enough about RV, and why did you even start RV?
Well, I didn't really think of a way to mix business and pleasure, and I was enjoying RVing so much that business didn't really occur to me. I mean, we're filming Aviators and we're running around the country doing stuff with Aviators in our RV, and it didn't occur, well, why don't we not film airplanes in the RV? Why don't we film RVs? And then just in the end of 2018, I thought, well, what's going to follow Aviators, which is still continuing, but what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then boink. RVing, like you dig it kind of a lot, and so it became a show, you know, and we released an announcement that we're going to do it, and the response, it blew me away. I mean, it was immediate when we had a sense that we have something here that I think can become pretty important. And as the show continues, season over season over season, it will evolve and it will really start to take shape and become its own thing. Right now, it's kind of a a clone of Aviators, but that's only because it needs to grow. I mean, as you might have seen in basically every TV series that exists, seasons 2+ are a little different than season 1. Season 1 is the growing pains season. And I think we, early on in the shooting of season 1, we weren't 100% sure in the direction. Discovery was not part of the picture at all. It was intended to be entirely for PBS, and it is on PBS presently. But then Discovery came in. Discovery caught wind of what we're doing, and they said, yeah, we want that show. It's like, well, wait a second. We don't do shows for Discovery. We do them for PBS. So that kind of threw a wrench in the works because we have to change gears a little bit. But there was a lot of growing involved. But it was all positive, right? I mean, every month that would go by, we'd get more people interested, more, when's the show coming? When's the show coming? It wasn't supposed to come out till the middle of 2020. And it came out in November of 2019 because people couldn't wait. I mean, sponsors couldn't wait, broadcast, nobody could wait. They wanted the show. So we thought, well, let's get 6 episodes out there sooner than later because people want to see it. Well, and that's a great problem to have. So thank you all for that.
Well, now you talked about education a bit, so those of us who participate in providing information for fellow RVers, I think maybe you'll find this if you haven't already. You probably have from the Aviators, but for those of you who don't know, John and I started RVgeeks as a way to help a friend who purchased an RV who didn't have one before. We started the bug by taking them out on an epic 10-day trip. They fell in love with it and bought an RV, and then the questions started coming.
How do I sanitize my fresh tank? How do I clean out my water heater?
And those of you who've watched any of our videos or watched the first 2 episodes of the RVers know that I am a former professional driving instructor who used to teach people to drive tour buses in New York City. So I taught, don't come to me for instruction.
He's mine.
I'm retired. So they spent time in this was an 800-mile road trip we took these friends on, and I insisted that they get behind the wheel of our motorhome. As frightened as they were about driving our home, and they'd never driven anything so big, I insisted, and it ended up, out of 800 miles driven in that trip, 400 of them, they drove. I couldn't get them out from behind the wheel. And so we started making videos for them when they had questions, and we thought, well, let's make them public in case other people can find use in them. And that's how RVgeeks started. So I'm guessing that you've had that same experience with the Aviators, and you are already seeing it. You mentioned that you got your band out here in RVs. I'm guessing that you've now had the same experience, and I would suggest, those of you who've seen the show, do you think that Anthony is putting something together that might inspire more people? Maybe?
Well, I hope so. I mean, that's really the intention, and to just share information. Obviously, we don't go into any level of detail because of the nature of television. The segments, the episodes are finite. So we tend to, what I'd like to do is really cover every topic in RVing that exists, but a little bit, because we just don't have the time to cover them at depth. However, the people that we have giving you that information, the taste of it, hopefully, I mean, if you know how to drive an RV, then that segment might not be relevant to you. But the greater message of the segment where Peter was teaching Kate Morton how to drive an RV, it wasn't, this is how you drive an RV, so pay close attention. It wasn't that. It was more about the fact that she had never done that. And she was apprehensive. And when she first got behind the wheel, she wasn't perfect. And by the end of it, she was driving down the highway, and she was a lot more confident.
It was a green screen.
The magic of television.
Wouldn't let her touch my rig. She did great.
She did. She really did. And she came a long way in a very short time with cameras on her and under time pressure. So, I mean, the point of that wasn't to teach people who have never driven an RV, this is how you drive an RV. The greater message was, if you don't want to start RVing, because you feel intimidated by driving a huge 43-foot diesel pusher, guess what? You can do it.
That's true.
That's the message of that
Well,
segment.
don't encourage everyone to do it, please. I have failed some people who tried to drive a bus because it wasn't happening. So not everybody.
But no, trust me, if you want to drive a 43-foot diesel pusher,
Offering me up like a sacrificial lamb. So
Are you taking a cut?
the point really is, and even though Anthony said, if you are watching the show and you see we're doing a segment about driving a motorhome, but you already know how, I would say, as someone who has driven as a professional all of my adult life, you can always learn more. There's always something to be gleaned. And we have that shoot we did with Tom and Kate and Anthony was rather epic. It came together suddenly. It was a 10-camera shoot. You think we have a lot of cameras going now with 5? This was a 10-camera shoot, and there's a lot of footage, and we have an idea that we will put together at some point for YouTube, kind of a very long form. This is what it could look like your first day behind the wheel, with every little step about how to adjust the seat and the mirrors, and the in-depth about how to control the steering wheel and what to look for. We'd like to do more training videos. They're tremendously time-consuming, and it's very complicated to show how to drive an RV on film. What's in my mind's eye is hard to put on film. But we're going to try. We may do something similar again with Anthony. He just learned that this second when I said that.
that sounds like a great idea, Peter. We have to talk.
For those of you who don't know, John and I are honored to be not only co-hosts of the show, but co-executive producers, that we help put these things together. We're incredibly enthusiastic about the show. For those of you who haven't seen it, we highly recommend that you give it a shot. We recommend watching it on iTunes or Google Play. It just hit Amazon Prime Video. Yes, I'm hawking it here. There are no commercials in it in its streaming version or on PBS, which it is releasing to imminently.
It has been and will air on PBS stations across the country starting right now.
And not only will you see commercial-free content, but there will be longer form. So in the first season, there are segments. For those of you who have not seen the show or only saw it on Discovery, there are segments called On the Road. And those are 5-minute features about RVers with some interesting story to tell. John and I were featured in one. Tom and Kate Morton were featured in one, and 3 others as well, and we've shot many more. So check it out. Maybe some of you might be someone who has an interesting story. Those of you who know Heath and Alyssa Paget, you'll see them. We filmed them in Italy for season 2. Because they were traveling internationally by RV with a 4-month-old baby. Interesting story, yeah.
Even crazier, we went with them.
Yeah.
Like, I think they wanted babysitters.
So, Anthony, I think people here in the audience might have some questions for you. John is going to come down into the audience with a cordless mic. And we're going to take questions for Anthony from those of you who are interested maybe in some aspect. This is our opportunity. Anthony is, after all, he is a big Hollywood producer. He's hard to get a hold of. This is your chance to ask some questions. So if you have a question you'd like to ask for Anthony, John is going to come around with a cordless mic so you can ask him directly. Don't be shy. Hold your hand. There's someone right here.
Right up front.
Are you going to take your whole band on the road?
Our whole band is on the road. We're on a tour right now.
Wicked truth.
This is the first stop of a 20-date tour that starts here, obviously, that being the first stop. We did our first show. The band is Wicked Truth, by the way. I don't know if you saw
Where's
it.
Wicked Truth?
Yes,
Is Wicked Truth there? Where's Wicked Truth? Stand up! Stand up back there, Matt. There he is, right back there.
He's so shy.
I want to tell you, that man right there is Robert Plant and Freddie Mercury and every other incredible singer you have ever heard. And if you were here to hear the very unplugged version of the band, was it yesterday afternoon? Wait till you hear the full show on Saturday. Don't miss it. It's unbelievable. And this man can drum like you never saw.
We do a lot of Van Halen, a lot of Aerosmith, a lot of Led Zeppelin, So if you like that kind of music next Saturday night, you're going to have a really, really good time.
And we have another question right
That
here.
sounds fun. Can't wait. So you said don't be shy, so it won't be. I'm Camille Littell, and I run Remote Work School, and I'm partnered with the Xscapers.
I'm familiar.
And so I'm curious, will you be doing segments on remote workers? I'm sure you will.
Absolutely,
and
100%.
people who train them, like me. Just saying.
And plug. Absolutely, 100%. Like I say, we want to cover every topic, and with a finite number of episodes, with a finite number of segments. I can't say it'll be in season 2 or season 3. It might be in season 130 because the show will go that long, but I promise we will cover everything.
For those of you who wonder how long the show might go, the show is already contracted for 5 years. We've already... And it just so happens that by complete chance you talk about the kismet of the world and how the RV community brings things together. We were contacted by Anthony, who didn't know we knew who he was. He didn't know I was a pilot, so he didn't know I was a big fan of his.
I was a big fan of theirs. That's why
Anthony was a big fan of ours because he learned how to dump his black tank watching our video.
That's true. That's true.
So it just so happens that the day we received the email from Anthony inviting us to come join the show happened to be a big birthday for me. It was my
Don't say the number.
50th birthday. My 50th birthday.
People know
Is
you're
that not a
lying.
credible statement?
Is that unbelievable?
And from there, he asked how long after we had already decided we are going to work together, asked how long we would be here, and I said, if this decade of my life is spent on the show, I can think of far worse things to do.
We have a question here.
So besides the gear that's visible right now, how much other gear do you travel with?
We're pretty much maxed out here, I think.
Well, what you're seeing here. I didn't hear that. I'm gonna have to watch the tape.
You don't want to know.
Can't trust him with a mic. What you're seeing here, the larger cameras that you're seeing here, these large Canon cameras, and the B cam here in the middle, those are Anthony's, the one that Lisa is using here. Lisa, I'm going to embarrass you. I want to introduce Anthony Nalli's wife, Lisa. Can we get...
Yeah, she can put up with me. She's pretty special.
Lisa is a producer on the show also, and Anthony and Lisa have been together for what, 30 years?
Over 30 years.
Over 30 years. So to answer the question about the gear here, this is not everything, but it's a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some other gear. As a matter of fact, Tom Morton has really embarrassed us a little bit. I mean, we're pretty good at what we do, but man, Tom is something special. He is a cinematographer extraordinaire, and we have decided that despite the fact that I think our cinematography is not bad, we'd like to step it up. We'd like to step it up. We're going to work ourselves a little harder.
Yep.
And so we made an investment in some additional equipment, and I think we're going to spend more time. I mean, we didn't have to spend any time setting this stuff up, but we thought we will because it's worth it.
We were originally going to, Anthony sometimes isn't so happy that John and I are around because we were going to stand on the stage and say some stuff or show some clips of the show. And I said, why don't we do a live show?
Thanks, honey.
And we weren't, even though we've never done this, we're not nervous about doing it for a big reason, and that is because we truly feel we're among friends here. We can't thank you enough for making us feel so welcome and at ease at doing this and trying this out. And we want to try this again if you think we should.
We had a shy person ask a question about some of the sponsors on the show and there's crossover between Xscapers and, Xscapees and the show's sponsors.
Well, I mean, the show has several sponsors. We're immensely grateful for that. We do not get paid by any broadcaster, so without the sponsors, there's no show. and we think the show is very, very important. It's got a very important message to convey, and we are so grateful to our sponsors. And I'm going to leave some out, but I'm going to try. Dometic.
Hold on, let me pull it up.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Do that.
It's a long list.
Dometic, a great sponsor of ours. We're so grateful for them to come early along and really provide the kind of support that we needed to rocket this thing.
Dometic is here with us today, by the way. They are our single largest sponsor, and I want to send a shout out to Dometic. Absolutely. And if I could, before you go further, I want to give a very special shout out and insist that he stand up. Tyler Hammock of Tough Top Awnings is here. Yep. And I want to tell you that for a small, family-owned company with a few employees to step up to sponsor the show was a very big deal. And if you saw, Tyler appeared in one episode of the show. I interviewed him about replacing a Dometic awning. And
actually, Tyler snuck into another segment too.
Oh yes, as a matter of fact, Pat and Rita are here also, and they were in the leveling segment.
Yeah.
So we have, there they are, there's Pat.
That's Pat. So shy.
So we have big sponsors like Battleborn, huge sponsor, Rad Power Bikes, M4 LEDs, all
Fantasy RV Tours.
Fantasy RV Tours are very big. Yeah. And I want to mention that we will be traveling. Tom and Kate Morton and John and I are on our way to New Zealand on the end of February to shoot with Fantasy.
That's right. Absolutely. So RV & Go is another big sponsor of the show. We're very grateful for everything they do, and we are actually going to be flying to Tampa tomorrow for the RV Super Show to attend the Super Show and make an appearance there for the RV & Go Tampa Super Show after party. Big sponsor of the show. We're really grateful for everything they do.
And I will apologize that we left many out. So let's grab another question before we run out of time.
I'm getting my exercise here. How come nobody up front wants to ask questions?
So when you started this, you had a certain understanding of what this lifestyle was. Now you're in and amongst the largest group of people that live and work on the road. What did you learn between those 2 points?
Well, I learned that a lot more people are doing it than I thought originally. I mean, really, I thought it was a retiree thing as well. You know, and I'm not retired, so I thought I was the oddball. But it seems we're all the oddball. So I guess that makes us not so much oddballs, right? It's just a different way to live your life that is pretty darn amazing. So why not do it that way if it's so amazing? And I'm so glad that there are so many people, and you know, an organization like Xscapers to sort of draw us all together and make us all aware of each other kind of provides a lot of comfort and security, just knowing that you're not alone. But it's RVing. You can be alone if you want, or not if you want. The beautiful thing is the freedom to choose, right? And that's what makes RVing so awesome.
Got another question all the way in the back.
I have a feeling this question is going to sound good because the guy can really sing.
Yeah, this could be loaded.
Hey, Sweet Tea, big fan.
Hey.
Can you maybe explain to everybody if you've noticed any differences in full-time RVing in the U.S. compared to your home of Canada?
Yes, I am Canadian. I apologize for that.
Don't say you're sorry.
Well, first of all, the weather in Toronto right now is not as good as it is here, so there's that. And, you know, the U.S. has RV parks everywhere, RV service and support, seemingly everywhere, whereas that kind of thing in Canada is much more sparse. It seems RVers in Canada tend to leave Canada. So the dealers are few and far between. The campsites are fewer and farther in between. But not to say that Canada doesn't have these things. The U.S. just has more of them. Is that what you were getting at? Because that's certainly a truth.
So I want to point out that Matt, who asked that question, the lead singer for Wicked Truth, is a new RVer. How long have you been RVing now, Matt?
Since July.
Since July.
Full time since July, yeah.
And how many times have you boondocked?
Pretty much all the time.
You know, musicians, starving artist thing.
You know what they call a musician without a girlfriend? Homeless.
Oh, man.
Anyone have questions from up front? Because I'm back. Oh, of course, I'm back here now.
While John is walking up here, I want to
Don't
give
get
a
my
quick
back.
shout out to some dear friends of ours, Brian and Melissa Purcell, RV with Tito. Would you stand up, please? Okay. We talk about learning from each other. They have a fantastic YouTube channel that puts us to shame when it comes to being creative out, doing stuff to your RV. He actually cuts holes in stuff in his RV. We don't do that. And Brian and Melissa are also going to be featured in an episode in an On the Road segment in season 2 because they had an interesting transition in their life where their kids went away to school or moved out, and they retired, but they didn't sell their house and become full-time. And they suddenly had a totally different life of RVing, and they're going to tell us all about it in, I think, episode 2? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Season 2.
Coming to a TV near you.
I had a question. I don't know if you have kids or not. Are you planning on doing any episodes about road schooling and being on the road with kids of various ages, like we have a 17-year-old?
That's terrific. I don't have kids. I have 2 dogs, which are my kids, my fur babies. But yeah, obviously traveling with, well, in my case, pets is something that's significant. We're going to cover that. Traveling with kids, homeschooling, very interesting. Nothing, that hadn't occurred to me just yet. So thank you for mentioning it.
Yep.
I think it's a great suggestion. I think we should absolutely cover it.
We are interested in covering many aspects of RVing and families on the road. One thing we're sensitive to, that during season 1, because of the fact that all the cast members on the show are full-time, there was a lot of talk about full-timing. We're very sensitive to the fact that full-timers are not the only ones on the road, and neither are motorhome owners. Towables are huge. The fact that Tom and Kate have a 5th wheel, and that we are going to be talking more about towables, more about families, more about all these topics as we go, and we appreciate that kind of input very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question?
Yes, great show, enjoying this. I'm kind of wondering about you mentioned some about your mega theme. I don't know if you call it edutainment or what you might call it, but I don't know if you have any kind of subtext of, like so many of us, we have stories we tell, which are not always good things that happen, which have a lot of humor in it too, but I'm wondering if you've just thought out in terms of what's your mega theme or what's the subtext under it? Or maybe it's evolving, maybe it's just a variety show.
The reason the show is segment-based, as is The Aviators, is, we can do a segment on blimps and then follow that by a segment on the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds. And if blimps aren't your cup of tea, well, maybe an F-16 is. And how different are they, right? They don't have to be related segments in an episode. Sometimes they might be, but they don't have to be. So we really aren't following any necessary theme. If it's a topic of interest, we're going to cover it. And we're going to cover it, I'm going to be very careful about saying this, we're going to cover it in a real way. And that's not to say in a reality kind of a way, because reality TV, to me, is not the most real. It's not authentic at all. We are not scripting what we do. We are not staging what we do. If something happens on screen, that's because that's what happened on screen. Technically the show is defined as a documentary series. So we pick a topic that's relevant to convey information about, and we capture whatever information is to be captured, and we share it and convey it. Our overriding goal is to enlighten people who are unaware. As with The Aviators, the reason people don't take a first step largely is fear or apprehension. And I think the best way that we can help to alleviate fear and apprehension is knowledge. So if we just tell you the way it is, good, bad, and ugly, we're not going to paint it as it's the greatest thing in the world 1,000% of the time. Things break. They need to be fixed. There are certain expenses that if you don't plan for them, when something happens, you could find yourself in a bit of a bind. We want to be real about that, and we want to recognize that with proper preparation and proper knowledge and anticipating the negative side of things, because life is full of pros and cons, right? You can prepare yourself for the best experience possible, but the biggest thing that we want to convey is sort of back to the beginning when I said we first share people that we live in an RV or we travel a lot in an RV, what have you, and their first thing is one of confusion. You know, why would you want to do that? Why would you, you know, and then that kind of shifts once they're made more aware of the fact that, yeah, this is a good thing, I'm telling you. The fact that I live in an RV is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I'm proud of that. And once they start to see that, once they start to see it in you, they think differently. We want to share information to make people more comfortable and maybe think differently.
Now, I want you to remember, though, that if you do decide to do something on the negative side, that if you decide you're going to do a segment about a black tank crisis, I'm going to flex my executive producer muscles and make Tom and Kate do that one. Thank you.
I'm going to let you in on a secret, and Lisa might cringe here. We were winterizing our fifth wheel back at home, and we were putting up the skirting, and let's just say we had a black tank crisis. And we were rolling, so how this makes the show, I don't
Would anyone like to bid on that footage? So Anthony, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but I seem to recall you said you had an exciting announcement that we don't even know about. So to wrap up, I'm going to see if that's something that can be shared today.
Yes. It's an email that I received at probably about 2 hours ago. And it's confirmation from a new broadcaster. For some people who were trying to get us on satellite, there was some confusion. We're shifting over to Saturdays. The show is coming back to Discovery Saturdays in April, Saturday mornings. And it'll be a rerun of season 1 leading in May to the premiere of season 2.
Saturday, May 16th, I think it is.
Saturday, May 16th for season 2 of the RVers on Discovery at 8 a.m. And some of the challenges people had watching us on satellite is a lot of satellite providers, despite the fact that Discovery has an east and west feed, some satellite providers, or depending on your plan or what have you, really only utilize the east feed. So if you're in the west, we're on at 5 a.m. But we're not on at 5 a.m., we're on at 8 a.m. But in the west, if you're not getting the west feed, it's 5 a.m. So it's a DVR show for sure.
So this big news.
But the news. We have looked at getting some other West Coast broadcasters on board to help facilitate the people in the West who are having maybe a little bit of difficulty. And I got confirmation just today. Fun Roads TV is a broadcaster on a lot of local stations. And we'll have this information on our Facebook page and on our website later on. It's that new. But I'm told we're going to air on Friday nights at 9 p.m. in Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, Salt Lake City, San Antonio, Milwaukee, Las Vegas, and Wichita.
Keep going. I want to raise. That's great. That's awesome. So, Anthony, thank you so much. Before we wrap up, real quickly, Lisa, where are you hiding? Lisa's behind the camera as always. Lisa has some swag available, has some mugs for sale and DVDs, the streaming uncut extra bonus content version of DVDs. Have we got some of those, Lisa?
Yes, we do.
It sounds like there's not a lot. You better act fast. If I could, I'd like to thank, I'm going to hop on the other mic because I'm tired of sitting down there. If I get a mic, Lou? Yeah. Thank you, Lou. I want to thank everybody for coming and for the enthusiastic response and welcome we received. And I want to thank Anthony for coming and creating this show. Thank you all for your time here and for being part of the show, and look for yourself somewhere on television. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Excellent. Job well done. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, I just muted it.
Oh, and cut.
Oh, that one's on.
Awesome. Okay.
Oh.
We high five at the end of shoots.
Don't cut the cameras yet. Thank you guys. I've been a year and a half.
Oh, great. Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. And it's for years, about 3 years, I've been watching your YouTubes, and you've been so helpful to me.
Well, that's very nice to hear, really. Thank you very much for sharing it. Thank you very much for sharing it. It's really important. We love hearing that. So, congrats. That's awesome.
It's so nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully we are as handsome in person as we are on TV.
Oh, even better.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.